Hi there, and welcome back. So today you're just gonna follow along with a practice session that I do in order to play by heart. I'm relearning this sonatina to play by heart because we have it programmed in March 2024, and undoubtedly there will be many other projects in the meantime, so I wanted to take my time for this one. And so the first thing I did is I already divided it in sections. I really like working in sections because this first and foremost helps me a lot with fugues, but also just it's nice to have little compartments, things that you can always start no matter what. Basically, you know these things as well as you know the beginning of a piece. And I like practicing these sections backwards, so I start with the very last section and then I work my way back to the beginning. So we're gonna start with this first movement of Ravel Sonatine. I started practicing it again, like learning it by heart 2 days ago, so this is still pretty early in the process. And we're going to be using the three ways to learn by heart, which is the auditory memory, the visual memory, of course, and then muscle memory. So yeah, I hope this is very helpful to you and maybe, hopefully, inspiring and giving you some new ideas in order to play something by heart and feel more confident. So let's get to it. Okay, so the very first section that I have is basically the last three systems of the piece. It's where we are modulating, and we are modulating to F sharp major, so lots of sharps here. So the first thing I do is I basically just practice hands separately. And we'll do that left hand first, because left, that's your basis. That's everything is built upon your harmony and your basis. In the background you might hear Joseph practice a little bit. So that's also the reality of music practice, is that many times you're in a school or in a household with another musician, and so you practice with someone else in the background. So it's very, very good for focus, or maybe very bad, but you'll learn to make it very good for your focus. Okay, so here we go. Left hand first. Focused on two things when I was doing this. I was training my visual memory, not just notes, but also where is my hand placed on the piano. This is something that I noticed when I was a kid. This all went super easy because I took a long time to get through pieces because they were always actually a little bit too hard for my level. And so I got very used to playing by heart because it took me a long time to get through pieces. And then once I was in a conservatory, you have more pieces that you need to learn, and so I got better at reading from a page, and now I feel the opposite. Like what used to be my comfort zone, which is playing by heart and playing recital solo, now became a bit less of my comfort zone because I've been playing so much chamber music lately and accompanying people, and just having less time to focus on solo repertoire. So I'm getting back into feeling comfortable with just looking at the keys and looking where my hands are, instead of constantly reading music. So that's one thing, the visual training. And then also I was very much training my auditive memory, that knowing where these little lines go so that I can also distinguish them even when my right hand is playing along. So for example, this beginning, it's basically perfect fifths, easy to remember, and I'm trying to have this little, or even from the bottom, this as a little motive in my head, because it also returns earlier in their piece, which is a weird way of saying that. It comes or is established earlier in the piece. like to have in my head really D sharp, C sharp, that I actually say it in my head. D, C, or sing along. D, C, because when this happens the first time, it's in a different key. So I want to be sure that I understand, oh, here we are with D sharp and bass. And then to a beautiful C sharp, 7th chord. Here I have a bit of trouble having the notes nice and even, so. When it's happening that some of your notes are uneven, it's usually because your weight is kind of falsely distributed over your hand. So that's what I'm trying to fix. And also always make sure that you hit the bottom of the keys whenever you play. Also, and maybe especially when you need to play soft. That's something that we have a tendency to play soft, to keep everything up. Please do the opposite, because otherwise your sound will never reach the end of your hall, let alone that the sound, sometimes it might not actually speak because your hammer is not hitting your string. So always make sure that you have bottom of the key. Really just let your weight fall into those keys, and there's actually no trouble then. But we as humans tend to overthink these things, and then this happens. So, all right, left hand feels pretty okay. Let's see how the right hand goes. Sharp on top. Okay, so here there are a couple of melody lines that I can follow. Of course, the actual melody. But then also the little counter melody, which goes along with what we have in the left hand. And this is something that I really need to have in my head. My lip is itching like crazy. When exactly do both my hands move at the same time? When is there one note that is played by only one of the hands? So that's something really to take note of, both visually, both and auditory. And then when we get to this little part, we have such a nice counter melody here. Basically 4 different voices, right? As opposed to rest, as opposed to. So these are all different sections in our symphony orchestra. Took a little bit too much time there, also because I'm noticing that sometimes not all the notes in my left hand spoke. That needs some work. With the beat, okay. So now let's actually put it together. First thing I'm going to do is really just going to read the notes. And then we're going to do something else, and hopefully by then it kind of got refreshed in the mind. Whoa, focus, treble. So this is something that I tell my students: cover your page, lock your iPad, put your book away, whatever, maybe even flatten the thing. But now we shall see how well we know the thing. First thing that I'm already noticing is there's a little bit of fear that I might not know my first note. And that's why it's a really good thing to actually sing along your notes. It helps your visual memory, but also, and most importantly, your auditory memory. I already had that when I was in high school and I needed to learn stuff. It was so much easier when I said what I needed to remember out loud, for me personally. So in my mind, I'm very, very much focused on which notes are the ones that I'm trying to follow. So I'm pretty sure that I need to start on G sharp. And it does sound pretty right. Another thing that I'm doing now is really knowing which harmonies that I'm about to play. I don't know everything like fully, like, oh, this is this particular chord in this particular inversion, blah, blah, blah. But the ones that I notice that I may be a little bit afraid of, or I have some doubts about, I particularly note in my head. So we're gonna see how this is going. Overall, it feels pretty good. This thing here is something that feels a little bit less secure than the rest. So I'm basically thinking B major over G sharp, and then B flat minor over B flat, which is weird because we were in F sharp major, right? But sometimes it's so much easier to see a chord in its enharmonic way. It really depends on the music, but for this particularly, I know that if by the time I figure out, oh, A sharp minor, that's not something that I see very easily. So I'm trying to tie my auditory memory and my visual memory to something that makes the most sense for me, which is not always what makes the most sense in its harmonic analysis or theoretic perspective. So to me, this is just B major over G sharp, and then we go to B flat minor. There we go. So that's something that I want to keep in mind. Also for this chord, I very, very distinctly think C sharp dominant with the 9th and the 13th over here. Such a nice chord. Anyway, sorry for my over enthusiasm. And then when we need to continue, I very distinctly distinctly think F sharp major. Why? Because I know that earlier in the piece it also happens and it's a completely different chord. So F sharp major. In the bass, I know it's parallel fifths. So I go F sharp major to, or just F sharp, C sharp, to E and B. And in the right hand, I know there's 3 notes and it's not exactly an E major chord because I have a C sharp in there. I don't really bother too much with, knowing exactly, oh, this is actually C sharp minor 7th and it's first inversion and it's with E in the bass. My God, I have no time to think of that. But I remember so this is part muscle memory. I remember the shape. I also remember that there's first 4 notes and then 5 notes. And I hear a descending fourth as my auditory help. So that makes it easier to remember. For this next chord, I very distinctly think D dominant. And then going to F sharp major with an 8th. A minor in between. And that's kind of how I make my way through this. So I really use all the 3 different memory techniques at the same time. It just depends where I am in the piece and the specific problems it poses for me, which one I use the most. So let's try it one more time and see if I can maybe have a bit more of a confident sound. I have a very big problem with feeling like I'm disturbing neighbors when I play, and I'm very much working on it to not have it too much. But this is also why sometimes my notes don't fully speak. It's because I have this subliminal thing like, oh no, if I play a note, someone's gonna come yell at me, which is actually not true. We have pretty nice neighbors. It's just something that I struggle with and that I need to address. That's also why many times I practice on my electrical keyboard, because I feel like there's less anxiety involved with just making sound. And that makes sure that by the time I'm on stage, I actually dare to make sound. Otherwise, I would be in trouble. So one last time. Oh, wrong counter melody, middle melody. Reasons that I'm already observing why this is going wrong is because I know there's a camera on me, I know that Joseph is playing, and I heard someone walk around upstairs. And those are the things that you're dealing with when you're practicing. And here the left hand also needs to move. Overall good. This here was bothering me. Because I wanted to sound like a harp and I didn't do a very good job the first time. Alright, so this last little part feels pretty solid. Now let's see, the next section that I do, we basically have a re-exposition. Not too far back, so not the last page, but the second to last page, I guess is how you say that in English. And I start at the last system where it says tempo primo, because in my mind that makes a lot of sense to start over there. So same process, left hand first. Right, sharps this time, not 6. So reason I'm having trouble is because yesterday I changed my fingering over here, and so my hand is still getting used to that. What I'm basically doing is keeping the A in my right hand, and maybe I should just be sensible and write that in my score, because that's why you have a printed score, so you can make notations and you don't have to remember everything by ear, which is nice. To really note for memory, because again, this little section is almost, it returns. It's almost identical in the beginning, just the ending is different. So here, it's of life importance that you take the right exit and you go to the ending, and you're not stuck in a loop where you play the beginning over and over and over and over. So here it's important to note, so we have an E7 chord. I'm not really going to worry too much about the right hand just yet. I know E7, B7, G sharp 7, and then C sharp 7. So E, B, G sharp, C sharp. Basically, we have nice descending thirds, right? No, fourths. Okay. Never mind, I thought I saw a little pattern and I didn't. Whatever, but however, there is maybe something that would help. It's basically my basses at first form an E major chord. It might be helpful, I don't know. Only time will tell for that one. But this E chord over a C sharp, it also returns in this later section, so it might actually be useful in a little bit for me to think of that. Okay, so left hand feels not super solid, but we'll see how it goes. Also important to note, because the beginning does this, and then when you have a repetition you don't play that, but now tempo primo you do play that. Important to take these notes. This is part of your analysis. It's really knowing exactly what happens, especially if something is very similar but then there's only one little change. So important to take absolute note of that. I'm gonna worry about the sound that I'm making in just a little bit. First and foremost, I want to familiarize myself again with the notes that I need to play. That I'm playing most of this without a pedal. This is for several reasons. The most important one is that I hear very clearly what I'm doing, so that I can distinguish, okay, this is a sound that I like, here are my notes very even or they're not very even, my chords are played even or not even. So I'm not trying to, hide behind the pedal, which is something that happens all too often. So don't ever use your pedal as a way to hide. In any circumstance, it should actually enhance what you're doing and not hide it. So don't misuse your pedal. Good. So this is of course one of the things that is the hardest about the sonatina, is you have an immense amount of notes that is basically all accompaniment. It's not important. Your melody is. Sorry, whoops. nice way of establishing the melody. So this is the thing that people need to hear, and the hard thing is that if you play everything together, you're noticing, oh, that's a lot of notes, and especially with the pedal, that want to take over. So what do? First and foremost, you just practice your melody together. I don't know if you could see that massive eye roll that I did, but I had a massive eye roll. So now, what about these? There's several ways to practice this. First and foremost, you can practice it staccato just for a good articulation, which is something that I really like to do. And I also like to include the 16th notes in my left hand in that, because they're part of this thing. So let's do that first. Melody type stuff. Another thing, and that's one that I talked about in a short that I released this week, is how to play fast but softly. So usually when they're too loud, there's a bit of tension somewhere. So we need to figure out where the tension exactly is and invite it to release. So the very nice exercise that I find for this one is to have your one movement quick but soft sound movement. Oh, the E was louder. And that was because my left hand was in a way. Huh, interesting. G was too low. Okay, we did this over 2 bars. Now let's get to releasing the wrist. Oh, funny, I was releasing my right hand. Going softer and softer. Alrighty, and then the last one that you can do is tense release. So I'm gonna, because my fingers usually don't want to stick up all that much anymore after so many years of piano practice, but sometimes it does stay in the wrist, so I'm gonna tense by pressing too hard and releasing. This is also maybe the perfect place to say, please forget the idea that you ever need to press hard, like use force in order to play piano. You don't ever need to do that. Your weight, your natural weight is plenty to get a key down. You know, a key on its own is not that heavy. What it does impact is, you know, the speed with which a key goes down. That impacts the dynamic, and then in some ways also your color. So you want to be so familiar with the weight that you have that you can manipulate the keys in order to make the sound that you want. It, however, never ever needs force, and it certainly never needs prolonged force, that whenever this key is down, that you need to keep pressing. By all means, that's the most colossal waste of energy that you can do, because once this key is down, the sound is never going to change. So this is something that your body needs to get used to, and so this is a really helpful exercise to release any of the tension that you still might have, even if it's unnoticeable to you. So press, release, 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 press, release. Wow, I can almost not say it anymore. You might notice I'm maybe exaggerating the movement a bit so that you can see it on camera, but basically it's just I'm pressing, you know, I'm sensing tension in my arms, wrist, hand to press this down, and then I release, and it feels automatically or instantly a lot nicer. Okay, let's see if this helped. Okay, so interesting. This is the first time where in the right hand the pattern, I guess, is different. Because at first we have fourths on the bottom, fifths on top. Same here. And now it switches, fifth on the bottom, fourth on top. So it might be nice also just to reinforce your memory to change your fingering over there. So I can take the first couple of chords with 1, 2, and 5. And now 1, 3, 5. Just to reinforce that thing. I have to say, for me, it felt in the beginning more relaxeder. You don't say that in English, right? Of course, there is more work with the pedal that I need to do. Also, sometimes the motions, because this is actually the tricky thing about this sonatina. You're so like in your own way with your two hands. So you need to be very familiar with where you need to go, so that you can reduce the amount of that you're in your way, so that it gets easier. Yeah, so also this is something that it's mezzo piano, but I'm inclined to, especially when it says pianissimo, subito, to actually use my left pedal, the una corda. So let's see if I can do that. No. This is how this starts. Okay. to some memory work. Sometimes I'm not exactly 100% sure on which notes come together, which ones don't. And now it feels already a bit better. Question is, do I need a double note over there? Let's see. I don't know. Whoops. No, I don't. Okay, so it's really just G sharp, but not together with C. Good. Last little section feels very, very solid. The thing that we just practiced feels okay. It probably, by the time we get there, when we practice the section before that, it'll feel even better. Because that's also a thing when you're learning stuff by heart. This is actually quite a lot of concentration and a lot of hard work. The key to making this very fruitful is doing it very regularly, as in each day. But also give yourself enough time to rest so that your subconscious can actually get through all the information that you did in that day. So resting plentifully is very helpful when you're trying to learn stuff by heart. Okay, the next section is on the second to last page, and it starts at the second system. It's where it's again an up-tempo section, and this is the big build-up. I love this part. The only thing is I'm scared for neighbors to play fortissimo, so I won't play fortissimo today. So then you're already warned. But okay, here we go. Good. So in the left hand, I already know fourths is the interval that we are dealing with. And it's all centered around A. At first the A is on the bottom and the A becomes on top. So A on the bottom, A comes on top in fourths. Whoops. To make sure that my balance in the left hand on its own is also good, so that the melody notes come out more than the accompaniment. Cool, couple of things that I'm noticing, or that I already noted. For this little section, I like to use different fingers and not jump. That just makes the danger of having wrong notes. It's an unnecessary risk that you're taking, so I'm not taking it. But also, this is two separate layers on top of one another. You have one, and this never changes. And then on top of that, we have. So it should sound like that. And now we have a nice chromatic thing that happens. And then second time, changing the note below. All right. Right hand. That I'm noticing just for my mind. I know I need to be very conscious of which chords that I'm playing when. So I know that I start with an E minor chord in first inversion, but E minor is the thing that I'm thinking about, and E, F, E, F, F. And so D, that was a note that I needed to sing. Highlighted. So here we also have a couple of harmonic little things that happen in between. So I'm going to highlight them so that I don't have to always rediscover them. I know that they're there, but it doesn't mean that I know exactly where they are. So let me make sure that I do know where they are. So we have here something that goes from left to right. And it also changes within the hand where it happens. So if we have this bar, we have this little chromatic thing. Okay. And now here we have this. I hope you could hear that very clearly. So we have first time all in the right hand, and then we have left hand, go to right, pinky. It's happening. So let's see if I can actually get that out even when everything else is also played. Oh, okay, so my left hand is trying to take it over. That's not. If I want to do this, get all these things out, and already do things by heart, it's too much for my brain. So let's actually read the notes. So on. Okay, let's do it one more time. Sorry. in the meantime, while we were working on something else, something that we worked on previously, has ripened a bit, which is a nice thing. It gives you reinforcement that whatever you did, it was good and it's healthy. Okay, let's see if I can do this actually right. Went pretty well. There was one little hiccup, and that was mostly a fingering thing. I noticed when we were here. That was just for my brain a little help. Cool. Previous section. So here we get basically to the place very close to where we have two separate roads that we need to take, because we're very close to the repetition that is within the sonatina, and then getting into the B section. So that's something that we need to pay close attention to. However, we have a whole little section that is very much like the beginning with all this kind of thing. So I'm going to start right there, which is in the middle of a bar on the second page of the piece, kind of towards the end. Long, but I just want to make sure that this is something that I can also, whoops, okay, I definitely need to practice my right hand first, but that I can also just start there, like I now can start here. Or I can start, Oops. And so on. It's really amazing what a camera does to your brain, how much easier it is to make mistakes, and that's actually really good, because that's what's happening on stage, is you have this extra adrenaline, this extra bit of pressure on you, and yeah, it's good to do this with a camera, but also very humbling. Okay, so let's do this new section. The important thing here, to B flat. And here I already know this is something that my right hand does, some things that I'm not always exactly sure what is happening, so I want to be really, really clear on what happens in the left hand. So basically we have an A seventh chord with an appoggiatura. So we start with all fourths, and then we have an E in the bass. Okay, good to note. Right hand. going to F sharp minor. Melody notes, F sharp on top, F, E, C, B, A, F, F, E, C, B, A, F. I like to solfege them because that's just the way that I was taught. I didn't really grow up with A, B, C, D, E, F. I grew up with do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, si. And so it makes it easier for me to sing that along. That's a double note, okay. I'm noticing all these little mannerisms that I'm doing, like grabbing my hair and touching my face. Funny. For me, it really helped that I said out loud that in my right hand I have parallel fifths in the beginning, because I was about to play something wrong and then I remembered this parallel fifth thing. And it feels very solid like that. Okay. There we go. Interesting. So here there's something. That stays the same. Okay. Many things are fine. Reasons why things weren't as clean or some mistakes slipped is because, again, I heard my neighbor walking and I felt fear and knowing that this is on camera and fear that someone might ring and say, shut the hell up. That of course does not help. Other things, sometimes it's just a fingering thing. Sometimes it's knowing exactly, is there two notes that are played over here, like especially if it's something like, or is it? Those are things that needs some sorting out. But also, this is why we do this over several days, or weeks or months, or however long it might take, so that this can grow on its own. It's, this is hard work. It has a lot of focus that it needs, and it's okay if you notice, oh, here or here I can pay close attention, and then do that the next day, so that the work that you're doing today has some time to sink in. You don't have to, figure everything out directly. Okay, next little section. We're almost there, actually, because the first page doesn't need to be divided too much, is knowing exactly where this crossroads is going. So we go to the first page and we go to the up tempo that's on the bottom of that first page, and this is like at the end. But now we're in a different key, and we start with D in the left hand. But same idea also, excuse me for the out of tuneness of this fifth. Painful. But at least my pedal isn't squeaking, right? And now F in the left hand. I don't know if you remember, but the second time it's F in the right hand and D in the left hand. Ha! Important. G, different than the F sharp going to E in the second time. Okay, we're going to take number 1 first, which continues with this parallel fifth idea. So that we can go back. Now, we're going to rewind a little bit. Instead of D. And he does it twice. Okay, we've established that. Now the right hand for the same section starts on a B, very important because the second time it starts on a G sharp. So now on a B. And we have something funny that we need to do with our hand, because I don't have the biggest hand, and this here. Actually works well. I don't know why I don't do that. I'll start with 4. A major to, well, actually E minor in an inversion, but again, I'm just thinking of these 3 notes and a fourth going down. Fourth going down. First time, going to first F minor and then C sharp minor. As I can, I'm trying to play very legato here without a pedal, so that this also feels like one sentence. Same section, starting on a B. Okay, I noticed here, there was a bit of doubt. So first, basically, D major. Maybe you might have noticed the first time when we have this idea, I take this big chord in the right hand. The second time I take the big chord in the left hand. This is just because my hands are too small, otherwise then I need to break it, and I don't want to do that. But to be honest, it also helps me with my memory, because this is a very different look. So visually this helps a lot, and also muscle memory, right? Wise, this helps in a way, because I know first time the wide stance is in the right hand, and then maybe retroactively I can figure out, oh, it's an E dominant chord, whereas then the next time it's the C sharp dominant chord, which has the wide stance in the left hand. Everyone uses different fingers, has different hands, all that stuff, but this is something that, you know, helps me with that visual, auditory, muscle memory practice. Okay, so we are here. Second time. So now we go to F sharp major. So in the last 2 days I've been experimenting a bit with how I'm going to take this, and I think I want to do what I did right now, and we're going to see if this sounds nice. Okay, let's play it the way it's written. So we start with a B on top and D fifth in the left hand. That's something, whenever you have a fingering, just stick to it, especially when you're practicing to learn something by heart. You just want to feel as comfortable as possible. Of course, you can, in the course of playing, you might mess up a fingering, but the chance of that happening is vastly reduced if you just stick to a good fingering that you figured out in the beginning. By all means, just note things in your score and don't make it extra difficult for your future self. Okay, let's do the second ending. F sharp major. And then an E octave. This took me a bit to think of this. Let's actually do it fully by heart. trouble with my memory. I feel a bit of trouble with the sound that I want in this part for the left hand. I'm going to work on that a little bit later. I first want to get through the memory part, and also my battery is going down. So let's make sure that we have the beginning well, and then let's see if my battery holds it out. In the right hand, fast notes, where is it? Ah, there. That sometimes my left hand is in the way. Okay. I'm so worried that my battery will stop, so let's see if it works. It's still running. Okay, so what I'm noticing is it's very nice when there's rain outside and to play this piece. There are a couple of spots where like my fingers were maybe a bit confused, but none of the spots where this happened that I felt not in control of my memory, which is such a comforting feeling to have, because that's usually what happens when you're confronted with the adrenaline of stage, is that if something happens that your memory might just slip up. That happens especially if you're just focusing on your muscle memory. Don't just let it, don't put all your eggs in that basket. Make sure that you have your auditory memory, your visual memory, your, I had a couple times where I really felt like this thing, is it also here? That I really was so happy that in my head it already was like, oh, this time it's F sharp in the left hand instead of F sharp in the right hand, or I have a D major chord, or other things. Oh, sometimes when it was over here, it was a finger thing, and I was like, oh, I messed up my fingers, but my chord, my harmony was still good, and then I was able to figure it out. So that's how I practice stuff by heart, just every day, and in bits and pieces, and with a very clear idea, okay, this is what I want to get out of this practice session, and then you sleep on it and you do other stuff the next day, but you still practice that memory part every day. And please, for the love of God, make sure that your score is not like open in front of you, because you get so used to that, and at some point it feels like you can't play without something in front of you, even if you don't read it. So don't make that mistake. If your music is in front of you, read your music. And if you want to play by heart, actually then make a habit out of looking at your hands, looking up, closing your eyes, whatever it is that you want to do. But make sure that your score is in some way out of your way. Either put something in front of it, put it away, take your stand out if at some point you feel like you don't even need your score anymore to practice because you know it so well. Make a clear distinction, just to be safe. There, I hope this was helpful. I also hope this isn't too long. We'll see when I'm editing this. Thank you for being here. A big thank you to my patrons for supporting me. You make this easier, and I'm very, very grateful for all of you for being there. If you have a subject that you would like me to talk about or to help you with, by all means, just send a message or leave something in the comment box. I'm happy to provide some content for you, and I'll see you again next time. Have a lovely weekend. Bye bye.